Some things never came to fruition, but this place did. And I think that whatever else we can say is that now for 100 years, over 100 years, there has been no tuition charged for those enrolled in BA and certificate programs. That is a fact. What we want to do with that fact is up to us in the present. So I'm afraid as a historian, all I have to say is the uses of history are multifold. And we have to, again, look to what we want to do now. Are there any detailed questions about Cooper's history? Yes. Well, yes. I mean, there would be $20. I'm trying to think of what it would be if you would. Yes, it would have been roughly equivalent to what people would have had to pay at, let's say, a liberal arts college like Columbia on a term basis back then. So it was a pretty big school, by the way. What's wonderful about the history of that school, the day school of design for women, was at one point it had 250 students, and that was in 1870, which actually makes it the largest institution of higher education for women in the United States at that time. So that's something to be actually very proud of, it seems to me. It was dropped way before the Carnegie money came in. Way before, I think about 1886, it seems to have gone out of fashion. Why they stopped charging for tuition is on that matter they're relatively silent, except for some interesting talk about class, which we might want to consider again. That is, the person who ran the School of Art at the time, Susan Carter, a remarkable administrator, said that invidious distinctions were growing up. Invidious distinctions were growing up between those who could pay and those who came, on a free tuition-free basis. Okay. The word tuition is really of a 20th century popularity. Fees was the term used basically in the 19th century for all kinds of remittances to the college. We did have fees also, something that was called fees at the time, for laboratory work. In other words, laboratory-based education was not part of the original school of night school of science. Laboratory-based education was viewed as an innovation and came into effect in the late 1880s. And so the fees for the chemical laboratory for students involved in the chem lab were quite high. In other words, basically the increased cost of the school because of lab-based instruction was borne by the students, if that makes sense.
Were the lab-based costs simply funding the labs, or did they fund the rest of the school?
Oh no, the labs only. They were brought in as a lab fee. Yeah.
Is it fair if I ask for your opinion in relation to Cooper Union's scholarship philosophy and its importance in today's academic world?
Isn't that outside a historian's remit? I stopped somewhere around 1975. Look, I think that it's up to you to say what it's like being a student in an all-scholarship school, and I can tell you the benefits of teaching in an all-scholarship school. Well, no, it's you. I think in a kind of general sense, it allows you to keep your eye on teaching. And you can treat education as a higher good. Yeah.
I'm wondering what factors caused the original school going in, and basically the fact that it transitioned from paying a fee to where we are now, which
Right. Well, I mean, the other part of the equation, of course, is that there were balanced budgets through these years. That is, the school only did what it could afford to do. That's a novel idea, but yes, I mean, it was the Carnegie money, you see, allowed for a new school to develop, and in each case, when we've had a new school, there have been capital campaigns to do it. I mean, so for example, we're losing kind of 1959 so-called engineering building. But the reason to build the engineering building actually wasn't for engineering. It was to give enough space in the foundation building to move at last a long cherished idea, baccalaureate degrees in art and architecture, for which there simply wasn't enough space. You'd never have got state certification for those programs unless this space was liberated for art and architecture. So that new engineering building allowed for those baccalaureate degrees for the first time. Before that, both art and architecture were certificate programs only.
Can you explain that a little? I mean, we had more space before the new building, so how does it liberate it?
Oh, no, see, this is a historian's problem. The new building, to me, is the one that's just being ripped down. But that was, that was basic. You know, by the time you get to 1960, even though you do not have an independent school of architecture yet, you do have, to some extent, the configuration we currently live with, in terms of degree granting capacity. Yes? Well, there was what?
I understand there were changes about like tuition then. Is that correct?
No, there was no tuition charged at any point through those years, not that I'm aware of. No, it was an administrative decision, as it were, to formulate a new architectural program that was both separate and different in kind from that was offered in art. So different pedagogy, different requirements, and so then we adopted the three-school model we still have, which, if you think about it, is now what, over 40 years old. Over 40 years old, yes.
Has there been a time in history when either the students, the faculty, or the alumni have had to act and expel the entire board of trustees and the president?
No. I'm not touching that one, but look, no, of course not, no.
It had to be addressed by the students,
Look,
faculty, or any combination of these.
Well, look, the whole issue of trustee structure has changed not just at Cooper, but in American education in general. I forget the last year, but there used to be only 6 trustees, and at one point, in a very kind of old-fashioned 19th century system, but the old chairman of the board, George Fox, remembers the occasion, right? That the trustees were personally responsible for any deficit. This was well, you're not going to get anyone to be a trustee of any nonprofit under those circumstances. But that was still operating with, I think, 6 trustees. And then over the years, you know, there's a totally different understanding of what boards are, it seems to me, what they do in non-profits. So I guess we're up to, what, 40 number now? 41, is it, trustees? I just know the number. Maximum, yes. But at one point, the bylaws were changed. I think we were capped at 25, and now we're at 40. Not an unusual number, incidentally. Oh, 25, yeah. Okay.